Hey, my friends, Derek here from Bomb Socks with more Bomb Bites, where we feast upon the words of Christ, and as always, one bite at a time. So we're gonna back out of the Zion's camp. We spent the first 3 days in Zion's camp, kind of disjointed with kind of the 101, 103, 105, and we're gonna hop into section 102 for a minute. Okay, so 102, not a very long message today, but there's kind of a cool little thing right here. So for 6 years of one of my church callings, I was this guy right here. Which, hello, my name is High Counselor, right? So the High Counselor doesn't just speak once a month in sacrament meetings. High Counselors have different responsibilities within the stake and things like that. If you look at section 102, 1 through 3, this is the Kirtland High Council, which is being called. It says the High Council is appointed by revelation for the purpose of settling important difficulties which might arise in the church, which could not be settled by the bishop or the bishop's council to the satisfaction of the parties. And you go through verse 3, it shows you actually who the early High Council was. You see Joseph Smith Sr., Martin Harris, Jared Carter, Oliver Cowdery. You see some of these names here, Sylvester Smith, Luke Johnson. These are individuals called upon to be the High Counselors. So a High Council is appointed by revelation to settle important difficulties that arise in the church. Well, what kind of important difficulties? The true to the faith, it says the most serious transgressions, such as serious violations of civil law, spouse abuse, child abuse, adultery, fornication, rape, incest, often require formal church discipline. So what I would invite you to do, and this section actually goes through and shows you the logistics of how to set up back then what was known as a church disciplinary council. So when someone would bring a situation that they weren't able to resolve with the bishop, they come in and they resolve that with the stake, the High Council. And whenever we held, back in the day, it was called a disciplinary council. Now they are called church membership councils, which I think that's appropriate. That's very appropriate. It's a membership council. Discipline, I mean, you think of the word discipline, it means like, almost seems like punishment. When the reality of discipline is you're trying to help someone become a disciple. That's the root of discipline, is disciple. And so the whole purpose of this is to help someone come back into the presence of Jesus Christ if they have fallen away from that. It's interesting, this section goes through and it even kind of shows you, in fact, let me show you kind of an overview of maybe what a High Council room would look like. In fact, when I was on the High Council, my stake president would take us to section 102 and he would teach us these principles. So here you've got the whole lineup right here. You got the stake president there with counselors, you got a clerk over there, and you've got the 1, 3, 5, 7, and 9, 11 over here, and you got the 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, and 12 over here. So verse 12 in section 102 says, whenever a High Council of the church is regularly organized according to the foregoing pattern, it shall be the duty of the 12 counselors to cast lots as members, and thereby ascertain who of the 12 shall speak first, commencing with number 1, and so in succession to number 12. So now it has been a minute since I've been on the High Council. It's been a couple of years. But from what I understand, that is still exactly what is done when you are doing a church membership council. You've got those who are to speak on behalf of the individual, and then you've got those who are to speak on behalf of the church, all in an effort, every single one, and it's not a sides thing, it's all in an effort to help a person come back to where they need to be. One of the things I do remember very clearly with all of this, how prayerful these decisions are. The number of times we are on our knees praying, number of times the stake presidency goes into their office and prays, and this is a very prayerful, thoughtful, we come fasting to these type of things. In fact, there's a quote from Gordon B. Hinckley where he says, I wish to assure you that I think there has never been a judgment rendered until after prayer has been had. Action against a member is too serious a matter to result from the judgment of men alone, and particularly of one man alone. There must be guidance of the Spirit, earnestly sought for and then followed if there is to be justice. One of the things I would invite you to do is go into the church handbook. Okay, and in fact, I'll show you kind of how to roll through this. So you actually go to your main gospel library right here, and you go to handbooks and callings. And with handbooks and callings, you can go right to general handbook. And one of the things it'll do, you can go all the way down to number 32 here where it says repentance and church membership councils. And what it will do is you can go through and you can read every single thing that it talks about through here. It's very interesting. interesting. So if you're into that kind of thing and you want to understand it, I would invite you to go in and do that. I'll tell you this much, it is a sacred experience being a part of those councils and to be able to be with a person. And it's interesting how the love that you feel for that individual, an individual you might have just barely met, and yet you come away having a greater love and understanding of how this person is loved by Jesus Christ. And so just a little thought there with regards to this section right here, just in the forming of the High Council and showing what the High Council often does with regards to these church membership councils. So anyway, I hope that helps you guys out. Thanks for watching these episodes. Thanks for sharing them. Thanks for subscribing. Go check out our amazing gospel themed socks at bombsocks.com. You guys are awesome. Godspeed. See you tomorrow. Bye-bye.